This is a continuous improvement movement reserved for the few with the grit to prove it. Everybody.
Good morning, Calvin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Today, we are going to talk about an article just released by Morningstar, and the article is titled To Be Associates Appoint Seasoned Executive Joshua Blair as COO to Drive Operational Excellence. Yeah,
Okay. That's what I'm talking about.
yeah. So let me tell you, Joshua Blair was brought in as COO to drive growth and operational excellence across 2B Associates' diverse portfolio of companies. This is part of a trend that we are seeing and that we have been discussing of creating C-level positions that focus on driving operational excellence. What is your take on that, Calvin?
I think it's great news. Operational excellence is always a good thing, and as a practitioner myself for a long time, I'm always excited to see uh, positions of greater and greater authority be granted the responsibility of operational excellence. I really think it does have to start from the top. So this is a case where we got to see COO, right? And that's as close to the top as you can get before you hit the CEO spot. So I think my first reaction is great news, good for this gentleman and good for Tubi Associates. My next question though is if that's what the COO is doing, then what's the CEO doing, right? Can we get all the way to the top? I think what Larry Culp is doing at GE is a great example of when you put OpEx at the top, then you can see some pretty dramatic transformation.
I agree. As COO, Blair will focus on optimizing Tubi's associates' operational infrastructure, including implementing advanced technology solutions,
Mm.
enhancing internal communications, and fostering a culture of continuous improvement. So that is what Blair will be doing at 2B. What do you think about those responsibilities?
Yeah, I think it's striking at the core of what is needed to really accelerate a culture of OpEx, right? Within every company, there are what I would call friction for improvement. And if you're looking at tech, tech is all about acceleration. So if you're looking at tech and communication and culture and uh, maybe contracts and client relationship or customer relationships, all those things can be sources. I mean, bureaucracy, right? That's a huge one, right? All those things can be friction for improvement. And a CEO, COO is a great place to have that responsibility because ultimately, yeah, you want to make operational excellence everybody's job, right? Excellence is not a single person's job, right? That person might become excellent, but they're going to get drug and held back by everyone else who's not embracing OpEx. So you want to make OpEx everyone's job by giving this individual the ultimate responsibility for OpEx. Their job is, hey, A, how do I engage everybody? And B, how do I make it easier for everybody to make improvements? So it sounds like the scope of work for this gentleman is around looking at the barriers to improvement and then, breaking down some of those barriers so that the company can go and grow faster, which is ultimately what we all want.
Mhm. That's right. And I was thinking this is 2B's way of approaching operational excellence. But for other people that are out there wondering how they can improve their
Mm.
OpEx program, what would be the best way to drive operational excellence and build that culture of continuous improvement?
Is so appointing a COO is phenomenal. I think a lot of companies, everybody has embraced OpEx as a must have, right? I'm looking forward to the day when it's no longer operational excellence, it's just operations, right?
Mhm.
And it's the way we run our business. This is just a way of working. It's generally good business management, right? Appointing a COO, phenomenal. I think a lot of companies are still stuck in the age when they appoint a CI manager and
Mhm.
say it's that person's job to transform this company into, achieve excellence in operations, right? Which, you know, is arguably not fair to that CI manager, right? Because they're going to run up against a lot of things that are outside of their control, that are the real problems that the organization faces, right? So yeah, what they're doing, what To Be Associates is doing is fantastic. I take my hat off to them, and I think more companies should push for something like that. But of course, the higher up the chain you push the responsibility for OpEx, the better. So even for them, there's still one more step, and that's really pushing it to the CEO level, right? And here's what I would predict would happen over time. The COO, who I assume is a very OpEx minded person, has a CI mindset, knows the things, does all the right things, right, to drive that culture. They're going to run into friction from the CEO, who I assume has a different mindset. Now they knew enough and understood enough to hire a COO that has OpEx.
Yeah.
So I give the CEO props for that. And maybe that was the board, maybe it was the CEO. We don't know for sure. But what's going to happen is the COO is going to say, hey, this is what we should be doing. This is the way we should do this contract. This is the kind of messaging we need to put out there. We need to let everybody know it's everybody every day. These are the things we need to do to run the business in a way that generates that OpEx culture, right? We need to get away from carrying high inventory and get to a true just-in-time, lean organization, right? All the things that really are needed to drive a CI culture. And the CEO may or may not align, right? They may say, well, I know, yeah, possibly that could be good in the long run, but we got to hit this quarter's numbers. And as a result, we got to take the short-term decision instead of the long-term OpEx decision, right? And there could be friction between those two roles. And this is why you really need OpEx driven from the top ultimately, because the ultimate decision maker, the CEO, will be making choices that are productive and or counterproductive to creating an OpEx culture. So yeah, definitely bring on a COO that's got the mindset, but really what may be just as productive is the CEO just hire a sensei, right? Go get a master black belt, go get a coach that's got the OpEx mindset, an advisor, and have a trusted relationship where the CEO is developing that OpEx mindset themselves, right? A lot of that is just kind of phasing out of the short-term band-aid mindset and phasing into a long-term culture development, addressing the things, even if you got to take a short-term loss to get to a long-term better culture. These are the kind of decisions that really require that, OpEx mindset. And
Mhm.
that mindset is forged in fire. That mindset is forged through real life with a coach, somebody who can be honest with you. You're doing it wrong, right? The CEO isn't going to approach his boss. The COO isn't going to approach his boss and say, "Boss, you're not doing your job right." Right? Most CEOs and most bosses can't, don't have the level of security to handle that kind of candid conversation from a subordinate. So I would say, you need somebody who can be honest with you, and you got to be able to take that honesty and say, you know what, you're right. Let me rethink this, and let's do this in a way that sets us up for long-term success.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we are a little ways from that ideal scenario, but we are making good progress. And these newly open C-level positions to pursue OpEx specifically, I think they're a good step. We're getting closer and closer.
I think it's a great step, and it's a trend we're seeing. We're seeing this. Last week we talked about a VP level OpEx position, which is great news, right?
Mhm.
You see a lot of director level C. Back in the day when I was, kind of coming up, they didn't have director level CI or OpEx roles. They
Mhm.
certainly didn't have VP, and certainly not C level. So seeing this is very reassuring that the movement is strengthening. It's strong
Mhm.
and it's growing. And I think in the next generation, maybe the next 5 years or so, more or less, we'll start seeing more and more CEOs that have that mindset and that background. So yeah, let's keep the faith, and stories like this are great news.
Mhm. Yes, I agree. Well, with that, thank you so much for listening. Let's get better every day, and we'll see you around here again tomorrow. For daily news on operational excellence and how it relates to current events, check us out on the Ticket to Freedom podcast.
Simply subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay up to date on the latest developments in continuous improvement.